Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jim Master Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. How's everybody doing today? I see all those smiley faces. Looks like everybody's having a good day. But of course, if you're not having a good day, you've come to the right place. This is our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. We come at you nightly, live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Sometimes we even do some bonus surprise pop-up shows and host and lovely viewer chat shows. We've done food shows. We've done on location, holiday theme shows. And of course, we've done bonus episodes on the weekends when we have guests that come in from Europe and other later time zones. This is an Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series we started close to 500 episodes ago. That's a lot of talking, and it's absolutely amazing. And thanks to all of you and you and you and you who have been really supporting the show, all the great Instagram messages, all the tweets, all the Facebook posts, sharing the links on your social media. We just had an epic 4-hour birthday party celebration. It was my birthday last Friday, and we invited 10 surprise guests. It was amazing. And the show went for 4 hours live. Even comedian Judy Tenuta popped on and surprised everybody. And it was just amazing. You guys have asked about her. She's going to be back on for a full episode around her birthday weekend, which is November 5th. So we're very excited about that. Hey, tonight we've got our special mug. This one came in from one of our lovely viewers, Mary Bishop in Pine Island, Florida. That's where she is. You know, I love the mugs. So this is today's mug on this episode of the Jim Master Show Live. And I toast all of you. And again, we thank you so very much. You guys know I do this work professionally in television and radio, have for a long time. We created this as a place, a wonderful community to come together to be entertained, inspired, informed, educated. We're always learning something new about life, about one another. Our guests are incredible. They come in from Broadway and Hollywood, television, film, music, science and nature, health and wellness, culinary arts, sports, comedy, inspiration, and everything in between. And it's really just a blessing to come at you with all of this every single day. We work hard behind the scenes to put all these episodes together. They are quite epic. You guys have been saying we should enter this into the Guinness Book of Records. You might be right. I think you might be right. But let's check in with the lovelies. We've got an amazing guest who actually has worked at some stations that I have worked at as well, and some other companies. His name is Stefan Ryback, and he has an extraordinary new book out that's already a bestseller. He is a television, radio broadcast executive, but also has been on the air for many, many years at major stations in New York and Connecticut. As well, he's the best-selling author of this riveting book that we're going to talk about. It's a very inspiring book. We told you as we were previewing this book, faith, family, forgiveness, love, life. It talks about all of it in this book. He opens up about his life deeply, even though he's been on the air and known as a popular personality. And he's a brilliant broadcast executive in New York, out on Long Island, where I hail from originally. He had some moments to share with all of us that are poignant. And you guys know we talk a lot about light, love, and Liddy on this show, or our famous Lovity, when I just happened to spurt that word out, and you guys really grabbed onto that beautifully. We talk a lot about that and empathy and kindness through our lives, not just during pandemics, but every day of our lives. So he's going to be with us in just a second. And again, he and I have actually known each other for quite some time. And when I invited him to pop on the show, he said, "You tell me where and when, Jim, I will be there." We've followed each other's careers. We've rooted each other on through life experiences and accomplishments. And I think that's a really cool thing. Before we welcome our friend on the show, Stefan, live and direct from Long Island, New York, let's check in with some of our audience, our viewers. We always are very, very viewer-centric, and we like to check in with our lovities. So let's check in with Be Happy. How could you not be happy with Be Happy tuning in tonight? Hello, Jim, and all the lovities. Good to see you again. Lovity just popped out of my mouth, and that was a year ago already. I can't believe it. And it's part of the vernacular here at JMS Live. Good to see you. Be Happy. And Sherry Larson is watching in Kansas. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday. If anybody's watching for the first time, we do this in the style of like a Dick Cavett, Johnny Carson, Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas. Warm conversations, entertainment, variety, something different every night. Not really an interview show, though we do interviews. It's an entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show. And I love it. And it's really it's been a blast. Continues to be. Mary Bishop in Pine Island, Florida. That's your mug, Mary, that you sent me. Toast to you there in Florida. Kathy Short is watching in Cleveland. Happy Wednesday, Jim and Lovity. So nice to be here tonight. So nice to have you, as always, with us. When you are watching, that means the Cleveland Indians are not playing at home, because you'd be there with one ear to the game, the other ear to your headphones and your cell phone watching our show. Now, I'm not sure. I don't think Kathleen Walker in New York City is with us tonight, only because the Mets are playing. And that's, we love the Mets. And she works for the New York Mets. She's a dear friend of mine. We know each other personally. She's usually always here, but I believe she's probably at Citi Field working. Crystal, but she always watches the archives. You guys, there's almost 500 episodes of this series available on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. So check that out and binge. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. We would love that. That helps us big time. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Click that little notification bell. That means you'll be alerted every time we have episodes, which is basically every day, and surprise pop-up shows and more. And also give us a nice thumbs up there on that YouTube channel. That's really important. That helps us too. That gets these episodes out further. YouTube blasts them out even further. Even though we're reaching a worldwide audience with worldwide international viewers, they push it out even further when you give it a thumbs up. And also drop a comment on our YouTube channel as well. That helps us too. Thanks to those of you who've been doing that. Crystal Nolan is in Connecticut. I met Crystal when I was doing a project with public television, and I was emceeing on behalf of public television, the Chicago concert, the band Chicago. Crystal was there. She came up to me, recognized me from PBS, and we became friends ever since. Hi, Jim and Lovities. Happy Wednesday. I hope you had a fantastic day. Looking forward to an exciting show with inspiring conversation and Lovity. Yeah, you're at the right address. Good to have you with us, Crystal, in Connecticut. Linda's watching in Florida, in St. Augustine, and she says, good evening, Mr. Lovity. Good evening, Lovities. Good to see you, Linda, as well. Some of our regulars are here. Fortnite is here as well. Fortnite 378. Hi, good to see you as well, Fortnite. We love when you're tuning in and checking in with us as well. And Merlin is here in Ontario, Canada, from Ontario, Canada. She says, hi, Jim and all Lovities. She's here all the time. We love everybody who's here and who comments during the show. Anybody that watches the show later on, you're welcome and part of our family as well. And some people like to watch our show and they don't comment in chat live. They just watch and they enjoy. And we welcome you too. We welcome you too. Whether you're chatting right now as one of our Lovities, or you watch this quietly, or you watch us in the archives, you are welcome. Ann Wozniak is here from Jacksonville, Florida. And she says, happy Wednesday, Jim and everyone. Good to see you as well, Ann. We love it. Christine Clifton is here. Yes. Happy National Coffee Day. I had my cup earlier today. I can't really have too many past 4 o'clock or I stay up all night now. Things change, Happy National Coffee Day. Jim and Lovity friends, welcome, Stefan, to JMS Live tonight. Let the Lovity begin. Let me tell you, Stefan is very big with Lovity. He's into inspiration. He's into empathy. He's into all of it. And it's something he lives and breathes all his life. And he's really a cool guy. Welcome, Stefan Ryback, to Lovity Hall, your new Lovity family. I told him all about the Lovity thing, and he said he loves the Lovity. I love that too. Ruth Reedy from Minnesota checking in as well. Good to see you, Ruth. Once again, always nice when you are here. And everybody, Juanita watching from South Africa. Good to see you as well. I love it. And Alessandra as well is here from North Carolina. Really nice. We love that as well. This is fantastic. Of course, Jane is watching in Sweden. Good to see you as well, Jane. We absolutely love when you are here. Nice to see you as well. And look at all these comments. We are flooded with comments. They scroll by so fast that sometimes we miss some of them because they're so fast. Welcome, Stefan, from Jane. And smiles coming in from Linda Odell. Jane, of course, late night in Sweden, where a lot of times she stays with our show till about an hour before she has to go to work. I don't know how she does it. I mean, people say I'm always busy and up. I don't know how she watches our show in Sweden, where it's late into the evening, if not already tomorrow, and she does it, and then she gets like 1 hour rest, and then she goes right to work at the airport there in Sweden. You're amazing. And so is Alessandra. Hello, Lovities and Jim. Good to see Alessandra as well. We always love to acknowledge the viewers who are here day in and day out. Maureen in Arizona, all excited, counting those days and months till when she retires from many years being a nurse in Arizona. Wednesday greetings, everyone. It's nice to be with you all this evening as well. You, Maureen, love it, love it, love it. Jane says, hi, Jim and everyone. Good to see you as well. Merlin in Ontario is welcoming Stefan to Liberty Hall. Linda Odell is as well. And everybody, Juanita in South Africa as well. Cool stuff, gang. You guys are fantastic. Thanks for all these great comments. We love it. Keep the posting happening as well. Toby, I believe, is here. Toby is here from Encino, California. Allison Tillman is here, and everybody else that's watching. Again, I mentioned our terrific guest tonight is Stefan Ryback, as mentioned as well, a brilliant broadcaster. I mean, he's been doing it. You know, I tell you, I've been doing it for a long time too. He's got me beat. He's an energetic, enthusiastic, positively motivated, and highly experienced multimedia management professional with a 40-year track record of proven success and expertise in radio, television, print, and digital media. Stefan's background and experiences includes advertising, marketing, sales management, management consulting, new media, and professional speaking. Stefan has written over 500 published articles and won the Billboard Magazine Program Operations Director of the Year Award 2 consecutive years. He is the author of the riveting book and beautifully written book, The Shadow on My Heart, Faith, Family, Forgiveness, which vaulted into Amazon's top 10 bestseller list on its first day of release, which is, I know it's bowled him over, but you know, for that to happen really tells you something. It's really resonating with people. And again, he started really early. This is something that he's loved doing: radio broadcasting, television, and so much more. And it's my honor to welcome him live and direct from Long Island, New York, from his actual home studio too. Best-selling author, broadcaster, our great friend Stefan Ryback joins us live on the Jim Master Show Live. And we're so happy to have him here tonight. Stefan, thanks so much for joining us from Long Island. Good to see you tonight.
Jim, thank you very, very much for having me on. We've been trying to put this together for a while, and tonight's the night.
Tonight is the night, my friend. And thanks for joining us. And all of this lovely coming in here from everybody. Juanita in South Africa says, welcome to the show, Stefan. She's happy to see you. Mary Bishop says she's in Florida. Hello, Stefan. Welcome. Toby in California says, howdy, Stefan. Sherry in Kansas says, welcome, Stefan, and everybody else. How does it feel to, I was going to say, how does it feel to hop on a show where they're enveloping you with this JMS levity?
Well, you know what it is, Jim? You mentioned that you and I have known each other. It's been at least 20 years that we've known each other, and I follow your work on Facebook. And even before Facebook, I was very familiar with your work. And when I think of Jim Masters, I think of very high quality. So coming on tonight, I knew that it was going to be very, very high quality. And I knew that the audience was going to be very, very highly engaged because you put forth so much interesting, entertaining material. How could you not like it?
I appreciate that, my friend. I really appreciate that as somebody who, has been in the industry a long time and knows what it's all about, the ins and outs and so much more. How did you first get started? Let's go back a little bit before we touch on the book. And the book really is something that our audience is very proactive. They will be more than likely going to Amazon and other places tonight to order it. That's what happens immediately with this very active, lovely audience. But growing up in Connecticut, um, what were those early inspirations for you to want to go into media, into broadcasting, into on air for you?
Born and raised in Waterbury, Connecticut, and I had a jock mentality, as in sports. And
Right,
so I played baseball and I played basketball. And in the early 1970s, Holy Cross High School in Waterbury was renowned for being a basketball school. They had a great
right.
team year after year after year. And so I went to Holy Cross in Waterbury wanting to play on the basketball team. And I made the team in my freshman year. I sat at the end of the bench my entire freshman year. I think I played 2 minutes the whole season. And in my sophomore year, I tried out for the team and I got cut. So I went to Holy Cross thinking that I was going to be one of the best basketball players to ever play at that school. But the basketball coach, a gentleman by the name of Tim McDonald, he didn't see it the same way. He saw it a
Sometimes that
little
happens.
differently. He
Yeah.
saw it so differently that I got cut in my sophomore year. So I was kind of lost in my sophomore year. I didn't know what I wanted to do because, again, I went to Holy Cross because I wanted to play basketball, and all of a sudden that wasn't in my world anymore. So getting ready for my junior year. Junior year is when they start letting you take elective courses.
Right.
So even though I didn't play on the basketball team, I had this jock mentality, and the jock mentality was take a course where you won't have to work very hard. Take something that sounds easy, and you'll get a good grade anyway. So I'm looking at the list of courses to take for my junior year, and one of the electives was a course called Mass Media 101. Mass
Mm,
Media 101. Now remember, this is 1974, 75-ish. So mass media was radio, television, and newspaper,
that's
magazine,
right.
that sort of thing, way before the internet. So I said, Mass Media 101. I like listening to the radio. I like watching TV. I like magazines. I like reading the newspaper. Sounds like a really easy course. I won't have to work very hard and I'll get a good grade. So I took the course on a lark. So I walk into class the very first day, and who's standing at the front of the class? Brother Larry Lucier. Now, Brother Larry Lucier was a brother of Holy Cross who I had as an English teacher in my sophomore year. And Brother Larry, nice guy, but the toughest teacher in the school. I mean, you couldn't breathe the wrong way with Brother Larry. Just very highly disciplined, very precise. And so I walk into Mass Media 101 thinking it's going to be an easy course. And Brother Larry is standing at the front of the class. And I said to myself, I just can't catch a break. I thought I was going to be taking this easy course, and the toughest teacher in the school is teaching it. So I sat there in the first class and I said to myself, I got to drop this course. I'm going to drop this course and I'm going to take something else. But something interesting happened in that very first class as Brother Larry was talking about what we were going to be learning and what we were going to be studying and what we were going to be doing. I said, that sounds pretty interesting. It's not going to be easy with Brother Larry, but it sounds very interesting. So it was a high school course that I took on a lark that literally changed my life. And the way that it changed my life is the semester project that Brother Larry gave me introduced me to radio. What Brother Larry did for the semester project is he gave everybody a different assignment. So it wasn't the same semester project for everybody. And the assignment he gave me was based on things that he had picked up during the course of the semester, listening to me, listening to my classmates. He gave every person in that class a different assignment. And the assignment that Brother Larry gave me was to shadow one of the disc jockeys at my hometown radio station in Waterbury. And it wasn't just a one-day thing. I had to do it over the course of like 4 to 6 weeks, that sort of thing. So I called the radio station, my hometown radio station, WWCO 1240 on your AM dial. That was
said just like a broadcaster. Yes, I love it.
Playing all the top
on your AM
hits
dial.
of the day.
Yeah.
And I had initially called the morning guy to help me with this project. And he wasn't a bad guy, but he was this kind of crotchety disc jockey. So he said, I really don't want to help you with that, but call the guy in the afternoon. He'll help you.
Yeah.
And the guy in the afternoon, his air name at the time was Tom Collins. Nowadays, he's known as Joe Cipriano.
The voice of everything.
The voice of Fox TV and the CBS television network.
Yes.
Your listeners and your viewers have heard his voice, I guarantee it, a million times. But at the time, he was known as Tom Collins, afternoon disc jockey on WWCO, and he agreed to help me with this project. So as I said, it was about a 6-week process. I had to watch him on the air. I watched him in the production studio when he was voicing commercials. I would go with him on remotes and appearances and see him do live broadcasts. And over the course of that 6-week period, while I was doing this project, I said to myself, wow, this disc jockey thing is really, really interesting. Now, remember, I'm 16, 17, going on 18 years old, and talking on the radio just seemed like a really great thing, and playing the music of the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton and Boston and Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles and on, all this great music. And I thought to myself, this is what I want to do. So in my junior year, I said, you know what? I'm never going to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I didn't play in my freshman year. I got cut in my sophomore year. Yeah. I'm going to pursue this disc jockey thing. And that's how my radio career started. Here we are 44, almost 45 years later. And I'm here to tell about it. I'm still alive.
Yeah, you are still here. Yes, through thick and thin, literally as well. And of course, great run at KC 101.
Yes.
In New Haven, Connecticut as well. People know you're from there. And what eventually brought you to New York?
Well, I was on the air in Waterbury for 4 years through my college career. I graduated from Holy Cross and I went to the University of Bridgeport in Bridgeport, Connecticut. At the time, they had a journalism communications school. So I went there as a journalism communications major. And I was very fortunate, while my classmates at the university were looking for internships, I was lucky enough to get the overnight disc jockey job at WWCO. So I worked full-time in radio as a disc jockey, the overnight disc jockey at night, 10 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. And then during the day, I went to school, and I did that for my college career. And, you know, we all have different gifts, Jim. We are all blessed with different gifts. And one of the gifts that I've been given is the ability to be honest with myself. You know, I haven't always followed my own advice, but in the moments that I have, most of the time, following my own advice has worked out. And I got out of college, and I said to myself, you know, I'm never going to be one of the top 10 disc jockeys in the world. I love radio. It's a great business, but I want to be the guy that runs the radio station. I don't want to be a disc jockey. I did that in college. I want to be the guy that runs the radio station. So I eventually became what's known as the program director. And for those people who may not be familiar with the term, the program director at a radio station is the person who's responsible for what the radio station sounds like. The program director is responsible for the announcers and the music and the way that everything is structured and programmed. They're really the chief content officer, I guess, would be the 2021 way of referring to it. So eventually got into programming, and I was blessed with a really great programming career. I went from Waterbury to New Haven. I was in New Haven at KC 101 and WAVZ for about 9 years. And then in November of 1990, I can't believe that was 31 years ago.
That went fast.
It went by fast. I got a phone call out of the clear blue sky from a gentleman who was managing a radio station in Phoenix, Arizona. And he said, Stefan, we're looking for a program director for KZZP Radio in Phoenix. And I'd like to talk to you about it. And again, I was in New Haven at the time, wasn't looking for a job, had a young family, was really happy at KC 101. And again, this was early November. So the leaves are down. We know that winter's coming. And the gentleman says to me, you ever been to Phoenix? No. Well, how would you like to come out? And I said, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your money. I'm flattered that you called, but I'm not interested in this job. I'm very happy where I am. Long story short, he talked me into going out for a weekend. And as soon as I stepped out of the airport into the Arizona desert and the Phoenix area, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And obviously, I ended up taking the job and moved out there with my wife and my 2 young girls in December of 1990 and spent 4 years there. And then we really missed the East Coast. I loved Phoenix. It was a great professional experience. It was a great personal experience. I learned a lot about myself out there, both personally and professionally. But we really missed the East Coast. We would only see our families once or twice a year. And I'm a family guy. And my wife is, was very close with her family. So we decided to move back east.
Plus the ocean and everything too.
Yes, and the change of seasons. Although there's something to be said about living in Phoenix, December, January, and February, when it's relatively warm and you're watching the newscasts from back east and you're seeing all the snowstorms. So in 1994, I accepted a position to manage a radio station here on Long Island. And what's interesting is we went from Connecticut to Phoenix and then Phoenix to Long Island. Truth be told, when we first moved to Long Island, we hated it because it was reverse culture shock. Living in Phoenix, everything is,
spread out and
very even keel, kind of slow pace. The sun is shining 300 days a year and people are kind of mellow. And I moved to New York and everything's, just very, very fast paced. So when we first moved here, we hated it. We said, man, if we stay in New York a year, it'll be a year too long. But you know what? We got used to it. And we've been here on Long Island for 27 years. So I managed radio stations for many, many years. And then at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, at that point, I had been in the business for 35 years. And I decided to go to work for myself and start my own media consulting company. And I'm also an entrepreneur. So I also started a few other businesses. So between my media consulting company and the other businesses that I own and I manage, I'm very busy and I'm incredibly lucky. I'm very fortunate and I'm very, very blessed.
Absolutely. Maureen, who's in Arizona, says, yep, you don't have to shovel sunshine. No. And Merlin in Ontario loves your voice.
Thank you.
And Linda says, all DJs seem to have deep voices.
Yeah, it's good. If you and I are on the radio, we're on TV, we should be able to talk, right? That's kind of like
we should be able to put a few words together. Actually, we had, this is good for reminding me, Merlin. Last night we had gossip columnist, and he used to be a celebrity publicist, author. He was with Huffington Post and OK Magazine as an editor and all these things. And he also has a book out, The 4 Words, which you probably would find fascinating. And he talks about, and I would love to find out what yours are. He talks about finding your 4 words, only 4, you can only pick 4, that represent the essence of who you are. So when we were on last night and he was our guest, I said, what came to mind quickly for me to represent me? I would say kind, empathetic, intuitive, and loyal. What would be your 4 words?
First word is God. Second word is family. Third word is positivity. Fourth word is blessings.
I like that. I like that. Another word that he had too was important. He saying he's important because, representing all these celebrities, he was always promoting them and he lost his sense of who he
Mm,
is. And now he's come full circle to realize that he's important too. And that's another. And he also said they're interchangeable. They're also interchangeable as time and life experiences happen. Some of those words could slide in and out, but that's beautiful. Those are a great choice of four words. And we had this
thank
whole
you.
thing last night where all the viewers were telling us their four words too, which is a beautiful thing. It's little simple things like that. And you have taken the time with this prolific career in a very demanding, unpredictable industry, as we know, ever changing, of broadcasting. Something that runs deep for both of us. We just love it. We pay heed and homage to all of those who came before, that laid down the tracks. um, and you wrote this fabulous book that goes really deep about your life and your experiences and a few things that happened recently, health wise, and so much more. Um, in broadcasting, who were some of those people that you looked up to, that you admired in television and radio coming up the ranks?
Walter Cronkite on TV, Paul Harvey on the radio. But the
Yeah.
people who had the greatest impact on me were the people that I worked with at my very first job at WWCO in Waterbury. Because what was instilled in me, and when I got that job, I was 19 years old. I was a college freshman. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was very blessed to work with some really terrific people, Danny Lyons and Tom Collins, Joe Cipriano and Joe McCoy, and a guy, local celebrity in Waterbury by the name of the Mad Hatter, who was this Wolfman Jack type of a personality, really well known in town in Waterbury. And those people had a tremendous impact on me from the very, very beginning because they said to me, Stefan, even though we're just a top 40 radio station in Waterbury, Connecticut, we behave, we conduct ourselves, we perform as if we're in New York City. Always demand the best of yourself. And don't think you're just performing for an audience in Waterbury. Picture yourself performing on stage at Madison Square Garden. Picture yourself performing at Carnegie Hall. Picture yourself performing on a Broadway stage. Bring that major market mentality to everything that you do when you say when you're here at WWCO. And that is something that I've carried with me since March 17th, 1977, my very first day of getting paid to be
Yeah.
in radio, was that mentality of always put forth the best performance. And it's not just a matter of having a voice and using nice words. It's about giving people something that's interesting, giving people something that's entertaining, giving something to people that's informative, but most of all, giving something people that will touch them, their mind and their heart and their soul, giving them something that they form a connection with you. And Jim, that is one of the reasons why I believe you are the success that you are, because you're not just, you've got a, first of all, you're a great looking guy. You have a tremendous voice. You've got a great personality, but those things really are only part of the puzzle as to why you are as successful as you are, because your viewers, your listeners, they form a connection with you, an emotional bond. And as I have watched and listened to your career over the last 20 some years, the thing that strikes me the most is the consistency with which you pour yourself into whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're on the radio or you're on TV. When I watch you, when I listen to you, every single time, every time, there has never been a time where you haven't poured yourself, everything that you've got, every fiber of your being into your performance. And that is the sign of a major market professional.
Would you like to be my agent? Because if that was your audition, you are hired. Those words coming from a guy not just a guy, a gentleman who's been in it 40 years plus. Really touches me deeply. Stefan, you didn't have to say those words, but I really am moved by them and truly, truly appreciate. I do, like you do, give it 100%, 110%. And you've been doing it yourself in a beautiful way, very, very eloquently since long time ago, wouldn't you say?
Wow. Look at that picture. Holy Moses.
There you go, right?
That's 1978. And we were doing a live broadcast from the window of a department store in downtown Waterbury. The department store was called Worth's,
Oh, yeah.
Worth apostrophe S, Worth's department store in downtown Waterbury. And we had a mobile studio set up
Yeah.
in the window of the store right there in downtown Waterbury. And what we were doing is we were collecting non-perishable food items and money for the local food bank in Waterbury. And so people would drive up in their car and hand over bags and boxes filled with non-perishable food, or give us money, give us cash. And that was me. That picture was me sitting in somebody's car with a remote mic. It's 1978. I'm 20 years old and I'm having the time of my life.
Actually, when I saw that picture, that's exactly what I saw, because look at your eyes. I mean, you're excited, you're happy, you're enthusiastic. And a lot of your photos have that. There's something in them where there's a joy. There's a joy in photos that you've taken.
Thank you, Jim. I'm,
Look at that shot.
my goodness, that is September of
More joy.
1990 with
Yeah.
Vanilla Ice. The gentleman to my left in the photo, he's actually to my right, but in the photo he's to the left of me. That's Vanilla Ice. That's September of 1990, and he had just released a song called Ice Ice Baby. It had just been released. It hadn't hit the charts yet. And that picture was taken at the National Association of Broadcasters convention in Boston, Massachusetts. I was still the program director of KC 101 in New Haven. The very nice lady to the left of Vanilla Ice is Michelle Block. She was a promotions representative for SBK Records. And the gentleman all the way to the right, his name is Daniel Glass. And Daniel was, I believe, the senior vice president of promotion for SBK Records. And Vanilla Ice at that time, totally unknown, brand new artist. They decided that they were going to debut. His debut public performance was going to be at the National Broadcasters Convention. And an interesting tidbit about this photograph is that the event at the Broadcasters Convention was to hand out awards. And then they had Vanilla Ice perform. Nobody knew Vanilla Ice, not even the broadcasters. What they should have done is had Vanilla Ice perform first and then given away the awards, because the way that they did it, they gave out the awards and then had Vanilla Ice perform. They gave out the awards, and then everybody, like 99% of the people that were in the room, left.
Yeah.
Vanilla Ice goes on stage, and Jim, there were probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 people in this humongous room.
Yeah.
And Vanilla Ice is getting upset. I don't know how old he is, 20, 21 years old, whatever it was. And he's very upset because everybody had left the room except for this dozen people. And I said to him, you know what, Ice, just go out anyway and give it your all. Act as if this room is filled with people, and act as if you're going to give the performance of your lifetime. And he said, I'll try. And he went out and he sang Ice Ice Baby. He gave it his all. And a few weeks later, it was number 1 on the charts and sold over 1 million copies. It was an instant smash hit. And that's the story of that photograph.
And of his career, Stefan. Oh my God. Great advice. The magic golden touch you have. That's amazing. I've got a couple more here too.
That was taken at Toad's Place,
Yeah.
downstairs at Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut. And of course, that's Michael Bolton. That was 1989. And I was the program director. I'm in the middle there. And I'm the program director of KC 101 in New Haven. Michael, of course, is from New Haven. So we were
Right.
kind of sort of like his hometown radio station. He had just released the album called Soul Provider.
That's right.
So we were there at Toad's Place to celebrate the release of his Soul Provider album. And the gentleman all the way to the right is a great, great guy by the name of Jerry Blair. Unfortunately, Jerry passed away about 3 weeks ago as a result of complications from COVID.
I
Jerry
know.
was a promotion executive for CBS Records, which was the label that Michael Bolton was on. So it's Michael Bolton, I'm in the middle, and my dear friend Jerry Blair. Interestingly enough, this past July, I got a phone call from Jerry Blair, and he said, Stefan, I'm in Sag Harbor, which is a beautiful village
Oh yeah.
here on Long Island near the Hamptons. And he said, I'm here in Sag Harbor for the week. I'm with my wife and my daughter, and we're going to be here just vacationing. He said, I know this is last minute. Would you like to meet me for dinner? And so this is a really personal story that I'm going to share. It was a very, very busy day for me work wise. And, it's so easy to say no. It's so easy to say no. It's so easy to come up with excuses. It's so easy to think of reasons not to do something. But something inside me said, Stefan, I know this is my brain talking to me. I know you got a lot going on. I know you're really busy. Um, I know it's going to be a late night because every night with Jerry Blair is always a late night. And then when you leave Sag Harbor, you got a 90-minute drive home. I know that, but meet Jerry for dinner. That was the thought process in my brain. And so I agreed to meet Jerry for dinner, and it was him and his wife and his daughter and a couple of other friends that we had, mutual friends, and we had a great time. The food was great. The conversation was fantastic. And it was just a really lovely evening. It was one of the best nights of this past summer. And I was so glad that I agreed to meet Jerry and his family and our friends for dinner.
Mm.
And when I went to say goodnight, Jerry and I had known each other for 35 years. We came up in the business together. When I went to say goodnight, I gave Jerry a hug, like we always hugged each other. We weren't just colleagues, we were friends. I considered him a brother. And I hugged him goodnight, and he kissed me on the cheek. And for an extra couple of seconds, he hugged me tight. For whatever reason, Jerry felt that he needed to hug me tight that night. So I hugged him tight back. And that was it. 6 days later, Jerry called me and he said, Stefan, I just want to let you know that my wife and I have been diagnosed with COVID. And I saw you 6 days ago, so I thought I'd give you a call as a courtesy to let you know. So I went and I had the COVID test, both tests, and I tested negative. And for about 2 weeks, Jerry, he was at home. And he told me that he felt like he had a cold. And as the days went by, he said it felt like the cold was getting worse. And that went on for about 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, he said, this is not heading in the right direction. Checked himself into the hospital, and he passed away 3 weeks ago from COVID. And the point of the story is never miss an opportunity to tell somebody you love them. Never miss an opportunity to hug a friend or a loved one or a family member. Hug them tight, even if it's only for an extra couple of seconds. Never miss an opportunity to tell someone that you love them. Because when Jerry held me tight and he said, I love you, Stefan, I said, I love you back. And that was the last time that I would see my friend Jerry alive.
Good thing you guys both had the blessing of that hug. That you'll take with you for the rest of your life, Stefan, for sure, you
Mhm.
know? Um, Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. That's so beautiful. But that's just the essence of who you are, because also people are watching, and a lot of people are going through a lot of different things these days. And when they hear stories like this and they hear about love and respect and kindness, it gives us hope to continue. And in your book, which is kudos to you and congratulations. Writing a book is not an easy thing. I know it's therapeutic, it's cathartic, it's frustrating, it's emotional, it's exciting. All of these different emotions run through you. Um, Tell us about what was the inspiration for The Shadow on My Heart: Faith, Family, Forgiveness. And congratulations again.
Thank you very, very much. I always knew I was going to write a book. From my earliest memories as a kid, and then especially after I became a journalism communications major at the University of Bridgeport, I always knew I was going to write a book. I was a columnist. I was a music columnist for the Waterbury newspaper for 10 years, and I've written for other publications articles. I always knew I was going to write a book, but I never quite got around to writing it. And then I would start writing and then I would stop. And so the book remained unwritten, but it was always up here. Never quite knew what it was going to be about, but it was always up here that I was going to write a book. 5.5 years ago, I had surprise open heart surgery. And what I mean by that was, I've always been in pretty good shape all my life. I've always been athletic. I've always taken care of myself. So in my mind, I thought I was very, very healthy. And 5.5 years ago, out of the clear blue sky, um, I fainted one morning at my house, and I had never fainted before. And long story short, when I came to, and I can't tell you if I fainted for 1 second or 3 seconds or 10 seconds, but when I came to, I was sweating profusely and my heart was beating very, very erratically, about 1,000 miles an hour. My wife took me to the emergency room. Um, at Mather Hospital here on Long Island, which thank goodness is about 3 minutes from my home. And the first thing that they tested for was a heart attack. And they discovered that I did not have a heart attack. They knew there was something wrong with my heart. But they said, we're going to let you go home. You didn't have a heart attack. You live close by. Don't go anywhere. Don't do anything. Lay on your couch, lay in bed. Tomorrow morning, we need you to see a cardiologist. So the next morning, was December 21st, 2015, December 21st, 2015. I went to see a cardiologist, and that set into motion about 6 weeks worth of every heart test known to man. 6 weeks later, I'm at the Weill Cornell Heart Institute in New York City. My wife and I were there to meet with Dr. Leonard Girardi, who's the chief cardiologist. Now, we're there, we think, for Dr. Girardi to tell us the results of all these tests that I had had over the preceding 6 weeks. The stress test, the nuclear test, this image, that image, every heart test you can imagine, I had it over the course of the 6 weeks. And we're there with Dr. Girardi. And so I'm sitting here and my wife is sitting there in Dr. Girardi's office. And Dr. Girardi walks in, he gets behind his desk and he puts two x-ray images up on the screen. And he sits down, and there's no small talk. There's no chit chat. He sits down and he says, Mr. Ryback, you are a very seriously ill man. You have a very rare genetic heart disease called bicuspid aortic valve disease. It's very rare. Only 2% of the world's population has this disease, and you've got it. And you've had it since before you were born, because the disease develops while the embryo is developing in the mother's womb. And 5 years ago, I was 58 years old, and I'm like, what? Are you sure? And Dr. Girardi says, here's what I'm sure of. You have this disease. You've had it all your life. The fainting episodes, because I had more than one fainting episode, are the physical manifestation. This disease is now physically manifesting outwardly. You've got all the classic signs. And if you look at this first x-ray, this shows the main valve in your heart. is defective, and it's been defective all your life, and it needs to be replaced. And then he pointed at the second X-ray and he said, "Do you see this shadow on your heart?" He said, "It's not a shadow. It's a very large aortic aneurysm.
Mm,
And if that thing bursts, you'll be
yeah.
dead in about 20 or 30 seconds. You won't even have time to call 911. And if you did, you'll be dead by the time they get there. So you need to have valve replacement. We need to repair the aneurysm. And by the way, it needs to be done in the next week or so." And again, I was like, what? I couldn't process this
Yeah.
information.
Left
And
field. Yeah.
it was just such a shock to the system. And Dr. Girardi said, "This needs to be done in the next weeks, 2 weeks at most. But if I was you, I'd have this done in the next week. And you can't run away from this. This has to be done. It has to be done soon, because if it's not done soon, your wife is going to be planning your funeral."
That's a life-changing,
So what I want you to do, I want you to leave my office, right? Don't leave the hospital without seeing the lady at the front desk. Take my next available appointment for surgery next week, at most the week after. But if I was you, I'd have this done next week. Take my next available appointment for surgery. Don't leave the hospital without booking that appointment for that surgery.
mm,
Stefan, you can't run away from this. It
right.
has to be done. You've got to do it the way that I'm telling you. Then when you get home, after you book the surgery, when you get home, clear your schedule for 3 months. You're not going to feel like doing anything for at least 3 months. This is as serious of an operation as a human being can go through. And it's going to take you 3 months to start feeling normal. Then after you clear your schedule for 3 months, you need to call your attorney and make sure your final paperwork is filled out, complete, before you come. And I said, "My final paperwork? You mean my will?" He said, "Yes. Make sure your will is completed before you come in for this surgery." And then he said the following words, which will be with me for the rest of my life. He said, "Stefan, I don't know if you're a man of faith, but if you are, I recommend that before you come in for the surgery, you talk to your priest, your rabbi, your minister, your spiritual counselor. If you have somebody in your life that plays that role, I recommend that you talk to them before you come in for the surgery, because this operation is as serious as it gets. I'm going to be operating in God's territory, and I think you would benefit by talking to a spiritual counselor to resolve that, to talk about all the issues pertaining to this type of an operation before you came in." And so anyway, I survived the surgery, as you could tell.
Yeah.
The recovery was a very difficult recovery. Basically, the way that they do the surgery is they put you under heavy anesthesia. They cut you open. They saw your breastbone. They literally saw your breastbone in
Yeah.
half.
That's what I've
They
always heard.
open you
Yeah.
up. They open you up. Your heart is in a protective sac. They cut the sac open. They take the heart out of your chest, and then they stop your heart. They can only change the valve, replace the valve, and repair the aneurysm. They can only do that if the heart isn't beating. So they stop your heart, and while your heart is stopped, and while they're doing this operation, I was connected to a machine, a heart-lung machine, that kept the air and the blood going through me. So think about the seriousness of that. So it's a lot to process mentally when you know what you're going in for. So
Yes.
anyway, I obviously survived the surgery.
How was the family? I imagine your wife and kids probably
They
were.
were great.
Yeah.
They were really, really great. Um, you know, I'm blessed with a good marriage, and my wife and I are blessed with three really great adult kids, and we've always had we're a close knit family. But that episode really brought us together, because without being dramatic, my life was on the line, and
Yes.
the chances were that I was going to survive. I mean, they told me there was a 98% chance I was going to survive the operation. But the way that Dr. Girardi put it, he said, I don't want to scare you, but only 2% of the world's population has this disease. There's a 98% chance you're going to survive this operation, but there is a 2% chance that you will either die on the operating table or within the first day or two after this operation is done and you're in intensive care. So you're already part of the 2%. You need to be prepared for this, not only from a legal standpoint with your will, but also from an emotional standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint. And that was great advice. Again, Dr. Girardi didn't beat around the bush. He just got right to the heart of the matter. So, Jim, you asked me, what was the inspiration for writing my book? And thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell about my surgery. During those 3 months, I decided, you know what? I'm going to be laying around for 3 months. I'll write this book then. The book that's been in my mind, I'll start writing this book. I got 3 months to do it. And what happened was I started writing the book, and it was going to be a book that was very inspirational about how to overcome adversity. My mother was born and raised in Poland, and she was kidnapped by the Nazis at the age of 16, and she was taken up to Nazi Germany, where between the ages of 16 and 20, my mother was a slave laborer. So I said, I'll write a book that tells her story, that's very inspirational, how she overcame that. And then my father fought in the Polish army in World War II. And my parents didn't know each other growing up. They didn't meet until after the war. But my father fought in the Polish army, and he was wounded in battle. And my father was captured, and he was in a prisoner of war camp for 5.5 years. So my initial thought when I first started writing this book is that I would write a book about my father and my mother and what they went through during World War II and how they survived that experience and how they ended up coming to America and starting this life. But while I started writing that book, the book about inspiration, the book about overcoming odds and how I overcame the odds of my heart disease and going through a really serious operation, while I was writing that book, I was overcome with memories from my childhood. And the memories from my childhood is that my father was a very abusive man. He was physically and verbally and emotionally abusive. And so I'm writing this book, and I thought to myself, well, Dad he was an abusive man. And so I really struggled with that. Is that something that I want to put in a book for the world to know? And then I thought to myself, well, if I don't put that in the book, I won't be telling the whole story about my father. And the only people who will know that I left it out of the book is me and my siblings. But then I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to write another book. I might write another book, but then again, I might not. So let's just say that this is the only book I ever write. Do I want the one book that I write? Do I want the one book that I write to leave out a very important part of the truth, which is that my father was an abusive man? And then I thought back to my mother growing up. She was a great lady. She really was a great lady. Unfortunately, my parents had a very turbulent marriage. It was a lot of arguing. It was a very toxic environment that I grew up in. A lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, physical violence, verbal violence, mental abuse, a very negative environment. And so I thought to myself, well, geez, do I want to put that in the book? I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. And then I thought to myself, but it's the truth. I grew up with an abusive father. I grew up in an abusive household, and my mother was an alcoholic. It doesn't mean she was a bad person, but when she was drunk, she was not very nice. So I thought to myself, do I really want to tell the world that my mom was an alcoholic and all the stuff that went on? And I decided to put it in the book. I would sit down to write, Jim. I would sit down to write the book at this computer here in my office and studio. And I would think about the abuse and all of the fighting and all of the horrific things that went on, all the holidays that were ruined with fighting and the drinking and just all that nonsense. And I couldn't write. I would be sitting at my computer sobbing because all of these memories, which I had shoved away, just started coming through. And there were days and weeks where I just couldn't write. I was afraid to sit down and start writing because of all the emotions that it was stirring within me. So I thought I was going to write this book in 3 months, and it took me 5 years to write it. It took me 5 years to write this book, The Shadow on My Heart, Faith, Family, and Forgiveness. And Jim, the book was released this year. It was released a few months ago. And I didn't know it was going to happen. By the time I got to the end of the book and it was edited, it was just such a joyous release. My God, I finally made it through this 5-year exercise of writing this book. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea. I was just so glad to have the book completed. And on our first day of release, it was in the top 10 on Amazon's bestseller. And I'm looking at the bestseller list that day, and number 1 was Tina Turner's autobiography.
Right.
Number 1, Tina Turner's autobiography. Number 2 was a book written by Patty Boyd, who had relationships with both George Harrison of the Beatles and Eric Clapton. So number 1 is Tina Turner. Number 2 that day was Patty Boyd's book about George Harrison and Eric Clapton. Number 8 was the autobiography of Lenny Kravitz. Number 10 was Paul McCartney's song lyrics book. Paul McCartney released a book about all his song lyrics. And number 9 was me. And
Stefan Ryback.
I'm looking at the Amazon bestseller chart on that day. And number 9, amongst all those other books, is my book, The Shadow on My Heart. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, is this real?
Especially being in the radio business and music business, some of those names you listed, you looked up to and were heroes of yours.
Yes.
And now you're in that company as a best-selling author. How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel very lucky and very fortunate and very blessed. Jim, when I wrote the book, I only had 3 goals. Goal number 1 was to write a book that was about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I was just going to lay it all out there, and I wanted a story that I could be proud of. And I accomplished that goal because I told the truth. It was a tough book to write. It took me 5 years to get through all of the emotion and all of the drama, and to put it on paper. I wanted a story that I could be proud of. And I'm proud of the story. So that was goal number 1. My second goal was to work with a publisher that respected the story, About a year into writing the book, I was signed by a literary agent. I signed a deal with a very well-known, very established literary agent. And I'd never written a book before. So I'm like, all right, I got, not only do I have an agent, I have a very well-known, very highly respected literary agent who's been doing this forever. And as I said, that started about a year into the process of writing the book. And the agent is a really nice person. She and I are friends, but nothing happened for like 3.5 years. The book just didn't get published. And every time I talked to my literary agent, again, really nice person, we're still friends to this day, but it was always this clinical business conversation.
Yeah.
There was really no heart and soul to our discussions, right? It was just business. And I'm a business person, so I get that. But with my book, I wanted something a little bit more. And I never really felt that she connected with the story. I never felt that she wrapped her arms around this story. To her, it was just another book that she was representing. So last September, a year ago, my contract with this literary agent was up, and I had an opt-out clause, and so I opted out of the contract. So she called my agent called me, and she said, "Stefan, I just got your email. What are you doing?" I said,
Right.
"Well, I'm opting out of my contract." And she said, "Well, why are you doing that?" I said, "Well, I've been with you for 3.5 years, going on 4. Nothing's happened." And she said, "Stefan, how many times do I got to tell you? I know you're well known in radio and TV and the media, but as a book author, you're unknown. Unknown book authors, it takes 5, 6, 8, 10 years for their book to come out." I said, "I'm not waiting that long.
Do you know what I've been through for
I'm not
this?
waiting that long." And she said, "Well, just be honest with me. Are you going with somebody else?" And I said, "Angela, I don't have somebody else to go to." And she said, "Wait a minute. You're leaving me to go with nobody?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Because that's what my heart is telling me to do."
Right.
I took a leap of faith. And so I parted company with this agent middle of last September, a year ago, and I had nobody. I had no idea what I was going to do. All I knew is that my gut and my heart were telling me to take this leap of faith, leave my agent, and step into the great unknown. And I have no idea how it happened.
Mm.
2 weeks later, I find the guy who ends up publishing my book, and we were introduced through a friend of a friend of a friend. It just happened. I can't even tell you how it happened. It just happened. We had a great first conversation, and then of course I had to send him the manuscript. The moment of truth. I had to send him my book manuscript, and then we set up a follow-up Zoom call, and I could tell in that follow-up call that he read every word, every line, every sentence, every paragraph, every single page, and he really respected the story. So, first goal, write a story I could be proud of, tell the truth. Second goal, work with a publisher that respected the story. And the book, 6 months later, 6 months later, April 1st of this year, my book came out. And I told you what happened on the first day. And my third goal, Jim, my third goal with the book was to make a positive impact on one person in the world. There's 7.7 billion people in the world, and I figured, that should be something that I can accomplish. I can I hope make a positive impact on one person. And 2 weeks after the book came out, I got a message on Facebook Messenger from a woman in Virginia. And she said, "Stefan, I would love to talk to you about your book. Here's my phone number. It has impacted me in ways that I just can't express in writing. I'd like to talk to you." So, social media nowadays, we're able to pretty much find anybody and look anybody up. So
Right.
I wanted to make sure she wasn't as crazy as I was. I wanted to make sure she was normal. I wanted to make sure she wasn't as wacky as me. So, I looked her up online, and she seemed like a very lovely person. So I called her, and first thing, I think she was just very shocked that I called her. But remember, I wanted to make an impact on one person. And she said, "Stefan, I want to let you know, I just read your book, and I'm 73 years old, and I'm battling lung cancer.
Mm.
And this whole time that I've been going through this lung cancer experience, my thought process, this is what she's saying to me. She said, "Stefan, my thought process is that this lung cancer is something bad that happened to me. And I read your book, and you talked about your whole experience with your shocking, heart diagnosis, and the whole thing with the surgery and the recovery. And instead of dealing with it as something bad that happened to you, the way you described it in the book, you talked about it in terms of being part of your life experience, as part of your spiritual journey." And she said, I never thought of my lung cancer as being part of my spiritual journey. So I just wanted to thank you for giving me the perspective that I need to look at my lung cancer as part of my life's journey, part of my development as a person, part of my spiritual development as a human being. And I want to thank you for giving me that perspective. I got that from reading your book, but she said that's not the only way that your book impacted me. She said that she grew up in a very abusive household. She said that her mother was a severe alcoholic. And she said that the mother would be drunk by the time she and her siblings got home from school every day. And the mother was physically abusive, and she beat this woman, and she beat her siblings, and she beat them on Christmas morning and pretty much every other holiday. And this woman said, Stefan, I couldn't wait to get out of there. So on the day I turned 18 years old, I moved out of my mother's house, and I never went back. And I'm 73 years old, and my mother's been dead for 10 years. My mother died when I was 63. I'm 73 now. And until I read your book, I hated her. I hated my mother with every fiber of my being until I read your book. And you talked about your abusive father, and you talked about your alcoholic mother. But instead of blaming your parents, you took the time in your book to explain why they behaved the way that they did. You talked about your father being in a prisoner of war camp for 5.5 years.
Can only
And that
imagine.
obviously affected your father mentally. Your father obviously had PTSD, although when in World War II in the aftermath, they didn't know about PTSD. It was nothing that was ever discussed publicly. It was just that my father was this sick man. But you took the time to explain the humanity of who your father was. And you didn't blame him for being abusive. You talked about his abuse, but you also talked about why he was abusive. What made him abusive? It was his mental illness from suffering from PTSD. And you also talked about your mother being an alcoholic. And you took the time to explain that from the ages of 16 to 20, she was a slave laborer. In those formative years of her life, she was a slave. And maybe that's why she drank. And maybe she drank also because she was in an abusive marriage. Your father beat your mother. Your father abused verbally and sexually and emotionally abused. Maybe that's why your mother drank. And so you took the time to explain who your parents were and looked at them from the prism of being faulty humans, human beings with faults, which we all are. We're all human. We all have faults, different degrees, but we're all fault. We all have faults. And so she said, for the first time in my life, I looked at my mother and I forgave her. I forgave her for being an alcoholic. I forgave her for all those beatings. And she said, for the first time in my life, I forgave. I forgave someone for the horrific things that they did to me. And I'll never forget what they did. How can I forget? I will never forget. But for the first time, I forgave my mother. And this woman went on to say, Stefan, in that moment of forgiveness, I sobbed like a baby. I sobbed like a baby because I realized that all these years I've been hating my mother. And she's been dead for 10 years and I still hated her. And in that moment of forgiveness, I realized that the person that I was hurting the most with all of this anger, it wasn't my mother, it was me. And I want to thank you for giving me that perspective in your book. And so, Jim, I wanted to write a story I could be proud of. I wanted to work with a publisher who respected my story and would help me bring my story to the world. And I wanted to make an impact person, on one person. So I did that. So you asked, what was it like to look at the Amazon bestseller chart and see Tina Turner and George Harrison and Eric Clapton and Lenny Kravitz, and one slot below me is Paul McCartney, and here I am in the top 10, and I got to tell you, it was great, it was wonderful, it was the cherry on the sundae, but to me, the best thing that has happened from this book is the response that I have gotten from people, not just from that 73-year-old woman in Virginia. That was the beginning of many similar stories that people have come to me. And, to think that I sat in this room over the course of 5 years and through tears and sweat and all those emotions, to know that people have been impacted in such a way by my little book is just one of the greatest blessings I can ever have in my life.
Absolutely, my friend. And it continues. I'm sure there's many, many more stories that you're going to have people share with you. As television and radio broadcasters, we've had our share of stories and letters that people have written because they enjoy our work on the air, things that we've done out in the community, the way we make them feel. But then there is that go the extra mile. There's that extra step. There's that depth that sometimes we reach through the things that we do, the stories we share, and the empathy that we show. And then we hear back from those who have been touched and they open up about their lives, the happy moments, the sad moments, the tragic moments, the triumphs, in a way where they feel safe and comfortable and trusted. And that's a beautiful thing. So the book has a reach that goes beyond even just the fact that it's a physical book that has all this great storytelling to it. People will connect with certain things that their life might not match the Stefan Ryback story, yet there will be elements and are elements in the book people connect with and relate to and make their own. And it'll allow them to, stories rising to the surface in a beautiful, authentic way that maybe they were holding back on. Maybe they thought that they couldn't share. And you're giving them that opportunity by sort of opening up your heart. And what I take from it, when I heard the title and I knew some of the story already, because you've been very open about all of it, the open heart surgery and just everything throughout that journey too. You were very open publicly about what was happening. Not a lot of people do that. Kudos to you, because there's a lot of people that were inspired by that. The shadow on my heart, you know, in your life seems to be, a combination of those several things. The shadow on your heart was this relationship with the family, the parents, and what it was like growing up in the house. And you have a heart. Obviously, you're a heart-centric guy, heartfelt guy, and it's amazing that through all of that experience, where you could have followed the same patterns, the same path, you had a way to step back and observe it and appreciate it for what it was. Maybe not like everything that you saw and experienced, but be able to create your own path and keep the heart intact. So that the shadow on my heart is that overcast that existed growing up in the household, as well as, of course, the physical shadow that the doctors discovered. So that book has so many different deep meanings to it, representing your life, doesn't it, Stefan?
You picked up on it exactly. When we finished writing the book, when I finished writing the book, of course, you have to come up with a title. And the shadow on my heart just kind of popped into my mind. And as soon as the thought came into my brain, I knew that that was the title because it represents a few different things. First and foremost, it represents, what Dr. Girardi saw on that second x-ray. He saw the shadow on my heart. But shadows are also very mysterious and very, very frightening. And so the book, this story, talks about the frightening things that I saw growing up, the things that I was afraid of, the arguing, the fighting, the abuse, the alcoholism, the ruined holidays, the ruined family get togethers, which should have been joyous occasions, but instead were occasions that had a shadow on them. And so the book title actually has multiple meanings, which you picked up on and you described so beautifully.
Yeah, I felt that right away when I was just taking a moment to really deeply think about it. And, you know, as time went on, you were able to sort of develop a relationship with your mother that was quite nice as you were going through what you were going through. And that's something that you don't always expect, right?
I had a great relationship with my mom. The only time I didn't have a great relationship with my mom was when she was drunk. Um, but she was an incredible woman. The one flaw that she had was that she was an alcoholic. And when she didn't drink, and when she wasn't drunk, and when she wasn't hungover, she was a remarkable woman. She was an unforgettable woman. She was a very powerful woman. After my parents got divorced, I was around 13 years old ish. And so I grew up with my mom. My mom had custody over myself, and I have 5 older siblings. I've got 2 older sisters and 3 older brothers. So there's 6 of us. I'm the youngest of 6. And so when my parents split up, all of my siblings, had either gone off or gotten married or moved someplace else, with the exception of one other sibling, and that's my sister Jane. My sister Jane was born developmentally disabled. And so when my parents split up, that big house on 169 Buckingham Street in Waterbury, it was my mom, my sister Jane, and there's such a beautiful photograph of her. Jane was born with cerebral palsy. And you got to remember, in 1950, which is when Jane was born, 1950, where society was at that time, is that people who were born developmentally disabled, they were called retarded.
Right.
They were called retarded. And that's just where society was at the time. And the other place where society was with developmentally disabled people is that they were considered a scourge on society and an embarrassment to the family. And so when Jane was born, my mother was told by the doctors and nurses that there was something wrong with Jane and that my mother should put her in a home and be hidden away from society. And my mother didn't do that. My mother said, Jane is my daughter, and I'm going to raise her as my daughter as I would my other children. So my mother raised Jane. And so when my parents got divorced, it was my mom. She was a cook. She worked in a restaurant. There was a mall in Waterbury, the Naugatuck Valley Mall in Waterbury. And one of the anchor stores at the Naugatuck Valley Mall in Waterbury was G. Fox. And it was kind of like the Connecticut version of Macy's. So she worked in the restaurant. On the second floor of G. Fox at the Naugatuck Valley Mall in Waterbury was a restaurant. And my mom worked in that restaurant as a cook. So she was an hourly worker. And at home was just my sister Jane and I. So, you think about everything that my mom went through as a slave laborer, and then being in a very abusive marriage, very turbulent marriage, and getting divorced, and having a developmentally disabled daughter, and all of the pressures that were on her to make sure Jane was taken care of. So at the age of 13, my parents split up. All of a sudden, I'm the man of the house. So when you think back, Jim, you know, My mom had a lot of different, not that I'm excusing her drinking, but she had a lot of different reasons to drink. And so I don't blame her. Um, I got to know my mom. Part of the writing of this book was a cathartic exercise for me because it gave me an opportunity to analyze everything that happened, and I got to understand my parents as human beings. You know, we tend to look at our parents as the adult authority in our lives. And when I was writing this book and then remembering everything that had happened while I was growing up, I had an opportunity to really spend time considering my parents as human beings. And again, they were very flawed, highly flawed people. And I was actually very fortunate that when my parents got divorced, that I end up being raised by my mom instead of my dad. Because my dad had a lot, until the day he died, he just had a lot of psychological issues as a result of the PTSD. So I was very fortunate to be raised by my mother. And again, aside from the fact that she was an alcoholic when she didn't drink, and when she was sober, she was a remarkable woman. She was a force of nature. And interesting little tidbit from when I was growing up, my mother wanted me to be a priest.
Mm.
We're born and raised Roman Catholics, and when we had to go to church every Sunday at St. Stan's Polish Church in Waterbury, right there on East Farm Street. And so every Sunday we went to the Polish Mass at St. Stan's Church because that was my mother's way of keeping us connected to our Polish heritage. And I was an altar boy, and I was a lector. I read when I got into high school. I didn't want to be an altar boy anymore, so I did the readings at Mass. And growing up, my mother wanted me to be a priest. Stefan, I want you to be a priest. I want you to be a priest. I want you to be a priest. And, my mother, as I said, was a force of nature. And when she put her foot down, you didn't argue with her. But somewhere around junior year of high school, I finally decided I'm going to challenge mom. Mom's name is Maria. I'm going to challenge Maria on this priest thing. So, about the millionth time, she said, Stefan, I want you to be a priest. Mom, why do you want me to be a priest? And here's what she said: because you'll always have a job. She didn't say, because I want you to save souls.
Right.
She didn't say,
very practical. Yeah.
Yeah, she said, you'll always have a job. You'll never be unemployed. You'll never get laid off. You'll always have a place to live. All your insurance will always be paid for. You'll never be unemployed. Somebody will always be cooking for you. You'll get all these paid vacations. Yeah, you say Mass, you do weddings, you do funerals, you do baptisms, you hear confession, but it's a steady job. You'll have it for the rest of your life. And again, I'm about junior year in high school. And I said, Mom, I don't want to be a priest. And she said, without hesitating, she said, then be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Why do you want me to be a lawyer? And here's what she said: because the lawyer never loses the case. I said, Mama, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She said, Stefan, think about it. The client loses the case. The lawyer always gets paid.
She's looking out for you.
Maria Rybak wanted me to be a priest. I didn't do that. She wanted me to be a lawyer. I didn't do that. I ended up being a disc jockey at my hometown radio station, WWCO, 1240 on your AM dial in Waterbury, Connecticut. I started doing the overnight show. And, my mother knew that I talked on the radio. She knew I was a disc jockey, but she really wasn't quite sure what else I did. But she knows that I worked at the radio station, and she knows until the day she died, she knew I worked in radio, and she knew that I was blessed with a really great career. I was very fortunate. So she was happy that I had a really good career. She was happy that I was happily married, and we had 3 beautiful kids. And we lost her October 25th, next month. It'll be 8 years that she passed away. And she was diagnosed with terminal lymphoma in February of 2013. And she fought it the best that she could. But somewhere around May, so she was 3 months after being diagnosed with terminal lymphoma, I was visiting her at Middlebury Convalescent Home, and my mother was a straight shooter. And she looked at me and she said, Stefan, I'm not going to make it. I know I'm not going to make it. And she hung on for another 5 months, and she passed away October 25th of 2013. And I was very fortunate. About 3 weeks before she died, she told me that she didn't want to be in the nursing home anymore. She knew she was short on time, and she didn't want to die in the nursing home. So she said that she wanted to go home. So we had her checked out of the nursing home, and she went home, and she had 24-hour care. And the day before she died, I was having breakfast at my home here on Long Island. It was about 6:45 in the morning. I was having breakfast with my wife, and I was getting ready to go to work that day at the radio station, and the phone rang, and it was the woman who was taking care of my mom. And she said, Stefan, your mom wants to talk to you, but you're going to have a hard time understanding what she's saying because she's kind of slurring her words. And that was because the disease had advanced that far. But I said, Violet was her caregiver's name. I said, Violet, put mom on the phone. I want to talk to her. And my mother was kind of stumbling with her words, and I could tell she just sounded really tired. And she said, Stefan, I want you to come see me today. I want you to come see me today. I want to see you today. And I want Barbara, who's my eldest sister. She's the eldest sibling. She said, I want you and Barbara. So she wanted the oldest and the youngest to come see her. And I want you guys to come here today. And so I called the office, and I said I wouldn't be in. It was a Thursday, the 24th of October. I called the office, and I said I wouldn't be in for a couple of days. And when I got there, my mom was kind of drifting in and out of consciousness. I thought she was sleeping, but when the visiting nurse came, said that that's not sleep. She's drifting in and out of a coma. And so I was there the last 24 hours of my mom's life, and was holding her hand when she passed away at 11:47 in the morning on October the 25th of 2013. And you know what, Jim? It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life to be there when my mother took her last breaths. It was just such an incredible blessing. It's almost kind of hard to describe the feeling and what the emotions that I was feeling. But when she took her last breath, I realized in that moment that in spite of her failures as a human, that I had been raised by an incredible, remarkable, powerful woman who had such an unbelievably strong impact on my life. Through thick and thin, we were there for each other. And for those who read my book, you will read that I not only reveal the faults of my father and not only reveal the faults of my mother, but I thought the fair thing to do, the right thing to do, was to talk about my own failures as a human. And so I won't reveal everything now because we've been talking for quite a bit, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. But I also talk about some of the things that I did that I'm not proud of as a young disc jockey running around Waterbury, Connecticut in the mid to late 70s. So use your imagination as to what was going on back then. But I also get into some of that in the book. And so it's a book about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it was a gift to write it. And it was a gift. It's been a gift. The response that I've been getting is just so unbelievable from literally people all over the world. I just can't believe, nowadays we have the power to impact people all over the world through a written communication and verbal communication and audio communication. And this book has touched people all over the world. And it's just been such an incredible blessing.
Do you see another book in the offing? I mean, this is like a memoir for you. You've really
It is a
pulled your heart
memoir.
out. Yeah.
It is a memoir. And thank you for asking. I've just begun writing my second book. I've just begun writing my second book. I don't think it's going to take me 5 years to write it because it's not a memoir. We haven't chosen a title yet, but it's going to deal with controlling your thoughts and mastering your emotions and loving yourself and honoring yourself and respecting yourself and being more successful in life, not necessarily from a materialistic standpoint. We can all think of people who have a lot of material things, such as money or a beautiful home, that are unhappy people. The book is going to be about how to be a more positive person, how to be a happier person, but happier within, because you love and you honor and respect yourself. That's what that second book is going to be about. If I was to guess, it's probably going to come out next spring.
So we know what
You
Stefan's
will
going to be
be
doing this
one of the
winter.
first to hear about it. How do you like it?
Yes, we will have you back on for that too. We know what you'll be doing aside from wrapping Christmas presents. You'll be doing lots of writing over the winter.
Yes.
Well, like you say, there's lots of blessings. And of course, your loving family is one of them. And, you know, given what you say you've experienced and what all the different, the trajectory of your life, it's been one of learning and one of sharing and one of appreciating. And you've been so open and sharing, with us tonight. But there you go, right there, right. The writing's on the wall. There's blessings that you have every single day. And what are some of those other blessings and joys in your life that want you to continue to communicate and share with everybody in the brilliant way? You're a communicator. I'm a communicator. You're a storyteller. I'm a storyteller. I identify with this. So there's this yearning and burning, and you have been able to connect with people as a broadcast professional and now as an author that goes on a deeper level, opening up your life in the way that you have so beautifully. What are some of those other blessings and joys that continue to fill you? We talk about faith, family, forgiveness tonight with this episode of the Jim Master Show Live. Tell us about some of those joys and blessings that continue to drive you forward. You've had so many teachable moments in your life, Stefan.
After my heart surgery, I told you about the 3-month recovery, and there was really not much I could do. I mean, I could sit on the couch, I could lay in bed, I can sit in a chair. Eventually, the big adventure of the day was to walk around the house once, walk around the house twice, walk around the house 3 times. The major accomplishment was when I had enough strength to walk around the house 10 times and then go to the end of the driveway and get the mail. And believe you me, after you have the kind of surgery that I had, it just took every ounce of strength to walk around the house 10 times and then go to the end of the driveway to get the mail. But I also had a lot of time to think. And the conclusion that I came to, Jim, I actually came to a few different conclusions. And so one of the conclusions that I came to was that every clear breath is a blessing. Every heartbeat is a blessing. Every heartbeat, every breath is a blessing. So when I wake up in the morning and I can breathe freely and my heart is beating normally, knowing that I have a replacement valve in there, and I had where the aneurysm was, there's a tube that helps the blood continue to flow through my body. So when I wake up in the morning, I kid you not, I am just happy to be alive. I am happy that I'm breathing clearly. I am happy that my heart is beating and pumping that blood through my system. So when I start my days like that, anything else good that comes along is a cherry on the sundae, just additional blessings, because I'm starting from such a great baseline, a healthy heartbeat, a clear breath. And so the additional blessings are moments where I can have clear thoughts. One of the things that I learned, Jim, while I was recovering from my heart surgery is that I spent a lot of time worrying about things that were meaningless. This one said this, and that one said that, and this one did this. And I would get all wrapped up in minutia about things that had no meaning. And so while I was recovering from that heart surgery, I said, you know what? That's one area of my life I'm going to change. I need to change that. I need to stop worrying about meaningless things. I can't control other people. The only person that I can control is myself. I can control my thoughts. I can control my actions. I can control my behavior. And by controlling my thoughts, by controlling my actions, by controlling my behavior, and coming from a place of positivity, coming from a place of love, coming from a place where I honor and respect other people, those are the additional blessings that came out of a very serious heart situation. And so one of the things that I try to do each day, and I'm human, I have my faults and my failures just like everybody else, is when I come into contact with people during the day, whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person, and I do this consciously, and it's helped me tremendously, is I send people a silent blessing. I send people a silent blessing. So for example, Jim, when you and I were talking before the show, when we were doing the pre-show and you and I were chatting, you don't know this, you're going to know it now. But while we were chatting, in my mind, I was saying, God bless you, Jim. I love you, Jim. May all good things be yours, Jim. Maybe that sounds corny to some people.
Not at
Maybe
all
it
to me.
sounds
No, people.
weird.
We need to
Maybe
hear
it's
that more in our
maybe
world.
it sounds esoteric. But while you and I were having our pre-show chat, I was thinking those thoughts in my mind and I was sending those thoughts to you. And honestly, I try to do that. I try to do it every day. Now, I had to go to the mobile phone store today because I've been a Sprint customer for 15 years. Sprint was bought out by T-Mobile.
That's right.
And so I had to go to the T-Mobile store to switch over my phone, my wife's phone, the phones that my two daughters have, and my son's phone. And I have to say, it was not a pleasant experience. There was just a lot of moving parts, and it ended up, they said, come on in, we want to make sure you come over to T-Mobile.
Yeah.
We got this deal, we got that deal. And it ended up costing me, if I told you how much money it ended up costing me, you would say, Stefan, you need to have your head examined.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is, so I'm going through this experience at the T-Mobile, and he was a very nice young gentleman. He was just doing his job. But there was a couple of moments of tension there because I ended up being told about that wasn't the deal that I was told about on the phone. Do you follow what I'm saying? So it was an everyday experience, where I'm with the stranger and it was kind of tense and a little uncomfortable. And so what I decided to do is I took a deep breath. And the fella's name was Eric, the young fella at the T-Mobile store. I took a deep breath and I thought to myself, Eric, God bless you. In my mind, I said, Eric, God bless you. Eric, thank you for taking such good care of me today. You know what? I wish you love and peace and happiness. This is what I did in my brain. And again, Jim, your listeners might think this is crazy or esoteric. From that moment, when I started sending those those thoughts and those vibrations to Eric, that's when the tension out of the situation alleviated itself and then ended up being a great outcome. I honestly, I try to do that every day. I'm not successful every day because I'm human. I have my faults and my failures, but honestly, I try. And I would say it's made my life better. It's
Mhm.
made my life better. It's made it calmer. And in this crazy day and age with so much drama and so much turbulence and all the crazy stuff going on in the news, we need more positivity. We need
Yes.
more love. We need more good vibrations. We need more clarity of thought. And so you asked, my daily blessings, it starts with a clear breath, it starts with a healthy heartbeat, and it goes from there.
Those are beautifully described. And I tell you, uh, you're on the right path because you are inspiring. You didn't become the priest, but you are inspiring in ways that are equivalent, if not exceed, in so many different ways, and reaching people through your career, your work, the person that you are, the stories you tell, and now this extraordinary book, my friend. This really, I know, has been a labor of love and something that, again, goes way beyond just the physical book that it is. And again, there's another one coming out. We talk about it a lot here on the Jim Masters Show Live. We talk about empathy, kindness, as much as we have a lot of levity and entertainment and singers and actors and all these different things we do. We always find a way to have those inspiring, poignant moments too. And even out of what we've experienced with this pandemic, the economic situation, the civil unrest, the crazy political stuff, I've been telling everybody, I hope we rise out of this more empathetic, more loving, kinder, more unified. I'm a unifier. I've never been extreme this, extreme that. I'm always sort of in the middle. My birthday was Friday, so I'm a typical Libra. We're balance, harmony. We're trying to balance and make it harmonious. So we got our work cut out for us as well. But always looking for ways to take extremes, bring them together, and find common ground, and to do it in a way that leaves people inspired, uplifted, and hopeful.
Amen.
And that's what you're doing as well through your work. I know we've done it in our own subtle ways on the air for people. And I'm doing it with this show. You've done it with the book and another book coming out, and every other way that we touch others. The beauty of it too is we're being touched as we're touching others. And when people realize that's the way the planet spins on its axis, when it's unified and we all touch each other and we all, lend a hand and we do what we can and try to look for the positive. There's going to be road rage out there. There's going to be chaos. There's going to be negative news stories, and it's always there. But it's what we do with them and how we react to them and how we treat and react to one another that really, really counts. And you have found this light that has carried you through some extremely dark moments to scary moments and life-threatening moments, with joy and love and blessing, sort of sprinkled in that, and have risen out of it in a way that really you were not supposed to disappear when the heart was giving you the trouble. There was this second chance. He wasn't ready for you yet. There's more work to be done
That's right.
here, the book to be finished, more books, that relationship with your mother and being there at her end, just and your family. All of that is part of your legacy, the destiny, and your life's work. Even everything you did at WWCO in Waterbury, Connecticut, that started the ball rolling, and it
Absolutely.
has come to this full circle now. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And empathy is something that I think is extremely important, and everybody talks about there's a shortage of it. Where are the friendly people? Where are all the kind people? They are there. And I think through everything that we have experienced of late, I think the timing of your book is so apropos for the times. I think it's so perfect. I think it's so needed. It's a book that people will not just read once, they're going to read 2, 3, 4 times. And every time that they read that book, they're going to feel something different. They're going to pick up little nuggets from it that they didn't pick up the very first time. And that's the story of mastering the craft of what you're doing. You didn't just write a book to sell books or just to be on, the top seller list or whatever. You had a story to tell, and you had one that has been burning and yearning in you for years. And then a few recent things happened that said to you, look, time is of the essence. Life is short. I've seen a lot of life. I've lived a lot of life. I got to tell this story now because I want to inspire others in this deep way. So it's a beautiful thing you're doing, Stefan.
Thank you very, very much for having me on the show tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity not only to be on, but also to tell my story. I appreciate the fact that you invited me on, and I also appreciate the fact that you gave me the space to tell the behind the scenes story of how that book came to be.
Well, I mentioned we do something unique here with all of the lovities commenting throughout, and it's sort of, Dick Cavett style, Carson style, with a modern twist, and giving time to really connect. It's all about connecting, and I think with this show we connect not only with the guests and the guests with me and the space we create, but also with the audience. Like, for example, Juanita, who's still up with us, and it's very late in South Africa. Great conversation. Thank you, Stefan, for sharing your amazing journey with us.
That is
Sherry Larson in
Thank you.
Kansas. Thank you for joining us tonight, Stefan. Touching and amazing stories. Congratulations on your book. It sounds fantastic. Maureen in Arizona. This conversation touched the deepest parts of my heart. What a blessing you are to the Lovity Squad. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey through life. Tight hugs coming to you. Jane in Sweden, where it's really late, agrees with Maureen says. Nothing that you said is crazy at all. To want to be kind and want to be nice and everything else. Maureen also says, you may not have been ordained a priest, but you certainly ministered to the people. May God bless you as much as you have blessed us by being here
Thank you
this
very much.
evening.
Wow.
Christine in North Carolina, this is the community we created here, and the Lovities. Again, everything Maureen just said, how beautiful that Stefan put out into the universe, the positive vibes and thoughts of love out to people each day. Christine Clifton in North Carolina. Juanita also adds, we definitely need more calm in our lives. And a number of them said they want to run out and get the book, which I really definitely encourage people to do. And there was another comment that Maureen had said. She goes, okay, now my eyes are leaking. Through your book, you have touched lives and helped people learn how to forgive those who hurt them. I have such respect for you, Stefan. And Maureen is a nurse who has been doing yeoman's work through all of this for a long time in Arizona. And Toby in California says, very evident, Stefan has a zest for life. My friend, this was epic. And truly, I encourage folks to go out and get The Shadow of My Heart. This is just book number 1, but what a book it is. And of course, Stefan, it's available at Amazon and all the usual
All the
locations, right?
usual places. Amazon is a great place to start.
It really, really is. And before we go, we got a couple other real cool photos we'll sneak in. There you
Eddie
go.
Money.
Eddie Money.
Yeah, that was taken in the mid 1990s. I was the program director at WBLI here on Long Island.
106 FM.
Yep. And Eddie Money came to visit us at the radio station. Just a great, great guy. A lot of fun. Very, very upbeat. When he walked in the door of the radio station, he was just a ball of positive energy. Just a lot of fun to be with, a lot of laughter and a lot of jokes. Great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daryl Hall. At that point, I am the program director of KZZP Radio in Phoenix, Arizona. and Hall and Oates came to visit us at the radio station, and Daryl was not nice enough to have a photograph taken with me. Great guys, just really, really super humble, fun guys.
I tell you, you've had some great experiences throughout the career as
I
well.
have,
And
I have.
and tell the audience again. You said you are in the executive side of things. Tell them what your current work is today.
I do a couple of different things, Jim. As I said, I quote unquote retired from radio at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012.
Was that
And
hard to
so,
do?
what's that?
Was that hard to do? Was it hard to do that?
Uh, I found it easy to do because I was yearning to work for myself. At that point in time, I had been in corporate radio, working for somebody else for 35 years.
Right.
And after 35 years, and again, this is 9 years ago, I was really ready to work for myself. Um, I tend to work at a very fast pace, and I'm not a good politician, and I just felt that radio had become very corporate. Um, Over the last X number of years, radio stations have been bought out by these big companies, and I got into radio. Of course, I got into radio to be a disc jockey. So there's a big difference between being a disc jockey and the guy who's running the radio station. But I just felt that radio had become way too corporate for me. And a lot of the fun, the day-to-day fun of the business, and radio it's a business, but it's supposed to be fun. And I just felt that the um, corporate takeover of radio had taken a lot of fun out of the business. So I said, you know what? I've had a good run. I've made a lot of money for other people, for the companies that I've worked for, and that's okay. But I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to be my own boss. So I've been
You
immediate.
sound like me in many ways.
Yeah, I wanted to work for myself. Um, and so that's what now, again, I took a big leap of faith because all of a
Yes.
sudden, instead of getting a paycheck from somebody else, I'm responsible for my own paycheck. So that's a big gulp doing
Yeah,
that gulp.
sure.
Um, but it's also very liberating. And I've been very fortunate, very blessed to have a successful media consulting business. And also, Jim, I'm an entrepreneur,
Yes, you are.
which means that there are other businesses outside of my media consulting business that I started and I run and I manage. Now, might surprise you, and it might surprise the viewers, but I have a dental marketing company and I have a medical marketing company.
Very
And
cool.
those two are very successful businesses. And those two started, when I got into managing radio stations, after I was a program director, I got into radio sales and sales management and station management, which deals with radio is show business. It's show and it's business. It's two words. So when I was an announcer and I was on the programming side, I was on the show side. But
Right.
after getting into sales and sales management and station management, I was on the business side of show business. And so during all those years of being on the business side and the management side, I developed relationships with advertisers. And there was a group of advertisers that I had a particular knack for working with, and that's people in the health and medical field, dentists, doctors, hospitals, health clinics. And I developed, again, when I was in radio, I developed marketing programs for dentists and doctors and hospitals. And so when I got out of radio, I started my media consulting business. And through a series of very fortunate events, I had a cosmetic dentist ask me, Stefan, I know you're not working at the radio station anymore, but can you create some marketing programs for me? So I said, sure, I could do that. And that was back in 2012. So at the same time that I started my media consulting company, I started doing this dental and medical marketing kind of just as a side business, kind of like a side hustle.
Yeah, side
And it
hustle.
worked really well.
Wow.
The marketing ideas worked really well. So I said, I wonder if this is another business for me. And as it turned out, it ended up being two other businesses for me, a dental marketing company. So we specialize in putting together marketing programs for cosmetic dentists, and then a medical marketing company for doctors and hospitals and health clinics. And so that's what I do. And so between the media consulting and the dental marketing and the medical marketing and my books and being on shows like yours, no 2 days are the same. Every day is different. And that's what I like. I like a lot of different variety. I like doing different things. I don't like doing the same thing
Yeah,
every
right,
day. And I don't do the same thing every day
right.
because every day is different. So between that and being in good shape and having good health, I consider myself one of the luckiest guys on the planet. I am just so lucky, so unbelievably fortunate, so incredibly, amazingly blessed.
Blessed is right. Exactly. And there's somebody here that's my sidekick who usually comes in towards the latter part of the show who said, "You knocked it out of the park tonight, kiddo." And he agrees, concurs that you are blessed and you realize that the thing is, you're blessed, but you're also grateful. Gratitude is so important, and you're
Absolutely.
grateful for those blessings because there are a lot of people who are blessed and they don't even know it and they're not grateful, but you're grateful. My sidekick here just wanted to say a quick hello. Mr. George Burns is in the house with us. Gets everybody
I
smiling, everybody laugh. He's got his
love it.
cigar, and don't show Stefan you have the cigar. He'll tell you to drop it. But he is
Oh,
there.
that is so great.
He pops in at the very, very end, and he's listening. He's always by the side there. He's got his martini there. And remember, he played God in the movie as
He
well.
did.
So
Oh, God.
you got to make people laugh, right? And he
Yeah,
sure did.
absolutely.
I,
Jim, thank you so much for having me on.
oh,
I'm so grateful.
this
You made
was,
my day. You made my night.
I hope the show met whatever expectations that you had, my friend, and that
Jim,
you
you
enjoyed it.
always exceed expectations.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I certainly enjoyed the time with you, and we will keep the porch light on for you, my friend.
Okay.
And all of the lovely viewers have been commenting throughout. They're going to get the book. They appreciate all of your time as much as I do. Continued blessings and joy, my friend. I'm sure we'll see you either in New England or on the island. Maybe grab a sandwich. That would be fantastic. And congratulations. Great success on the book. I know it's been a labor of love, and you're the best, Stefan, really.
Thank you, Jim. Namaste.
We will have you back, okay?
Okay.
Now,
Thank you again.
as we say to all the guests, go stretch those legs and get some circulation going.
Okay. It's time for evening yoga, actually.
John, are you going to do that next?
Absolutely. Morning yoga, evening yoga. I love it.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, you go enjoy, my friend, and blessings to you. And thanks for joining us on the show. Spread the word about our show, too. We would
I
really
will
love that.
definitely do that. Thanks.
All right. You take care. Good
Okay.
night.
Bye. Peace.
Peace to you as well. Stefan Ryback, again, noted radio and television executive and on-air personality for many years, of course, and best-selling author. Show you that book again. Make sure, I know a lot of you have already been commenting in comments that you're going to run right out and get it. I would advise, I know you guys, we have an audience that loves these kinds of conversations, and that's why we love to have them here as much as we have all the levity, the entertainment, the celebrities, celebrity friends, and all the goodies. We have fabulous conversations like this. There is the book, The Shadow on My Heart, Faith, Family, Forgiveness. None other than Stefan Ryback's very first. And there's more to come as well. Let's check in with a couple of more comments coming in here as well. Joan Sandos says, thank you, Jim, for the gift of these great guests. I hope your success grows, your talents, and are a blessing to all us lovities. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. You guys are truly amazing. We love you all. And I just want to show you that we've got amazing guests coming up tomorrow night. Actor Matt Provenza is going to be live and direct from New York City tomorrow. We're going to have an amazing conversation with him. Then on Friday, live and direct from LA and from Hollywood, noted singer and songwriter Rasmus Stewart is going to be with us. He's going to play live for us as well. And then somebody that I had an opportunity to work with on several productions. I've emceed at Carnegie Hall for Tim Janis, our mutual friend Tim Janis, the amazing composer and pianist and producer. And also, we worked on a PBS special up in Maine called Celtic Heart that ran on PBS stations, and I was hosting that. Dustin Cross is an amazing costume designer and has created incredible costumes for many off-Broadway as well as Broadway plays and shows and productions and film, television productions as well. The Buttons movie with Dick Van Dyke, Angela Lansbury. We worked on a lot of specials together, and he's just extraordinary. He's a noted costume designer, and he is in New York, and he is going to be with us. He even created the outfits for the New York Knicks dancers. I mean, that's how talented he is. Dustin Cross is going to be with us on a special episode that's coming up on Saturday. We're going to do a special Saturday early episode at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So it's going to be really cool. If you missed any of the episodes recently, Donnie Most from Happy Days was with us recently. We had an amazing time with him. We had Reverend Steve Peters with us. You know, he was the Reverend that Tammy Faye Baker spoke to back in 1985. That new movie, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, is out. We went to see it. It was really good. Jessica Chastain, she really is Oscar worthy with her performance. But Reverend Peters opened up, and we had an amazing conversation with him. And Don Fullilove, of course, from Back to the Future, that franchise. He was Goldie Wilson. He was on with us recently. And if you didn't see the 4-hour birthday party celebration we had on Friday, where we had 10 surprise guests with us, including comedian Judy Tenuta joining us live from Hollywood. Check that out as well. Again, there's close to 500 episodes of our entertainment lifestyle talk show series for you to binge watch. I know a lot of you do binge watch these episodes. Sometimes I do too. Sometimes I'll just kick back, watch, because, and Stefan will tell you, he knows this, when you're doing the work, when you're doing it, there's a different way of thinking about it in a mindset than when you're seeing it played back or hearing it played back, because the emotion and the attachment to it, like for me, you know, it's 10 o'clock at night. I won't be in bed right away. I'm too pumped. I'm too up from what we've just done. Happens every night, happens every time I'm on set or in a studio. I'm just so thrilled and excited and just giving it my all that it takes time to come down. So what happens oftentimes is, you know, when you do all kinds of different shows, you know, having the opportunity to communicate with people and to celebrate life in the way that we do, you know, you get wrapped up in it. So what I have found is that you just take time for yourself. That's what you really have to do. You got to take those moments, as Stefan has said. And what I found is when I binge watch these shows or anything that I have done on television or radio, whenever it is played back, like if we did a television show or there's a radio broadcast and we had to pre-record and then it airs, and then, you know, on whatever station or PBS, whatever it is, it airs. Usually, and I'll know it's coming on. I haven't seen it yet. We pre-taped it and it's going to air that night with guests and musical performance, whatever it is. Usually I don't like anything that I'm seeing right away. There's shock value to it because I'm seeing it with a critical eye. You know, I'm doing it looking out and I'm seeing all this. So I'm looking out this way, but then it's reversed. And now I'm on the couch and it's coming on TV or I'm hearing it on the radio and I'm hearing it with a critical ear and a critical eye because I want to fine tune and always sort of work towards better and better and better. So I've always done that. Usually, you know, we'll have family and everybody, hey, we're going to watch together, what have you. And usually I don't like it right away. And people are like, what are you talking about? I've had producers say that. They're like, I don't understand that. You're good. You're smooth. It's effortless. You're calm. You're all these things. Wow, that was a crazy thing that happened while you were live on air. The person fell out of the chair or the set fell. And you were just, you know, cool as a cucumber. However, that's because all the adrenaline inside is running and I'm on my game and I'm in my zone and I'm in my Zen place. But when I see it later, I'm looking for things to say, maybe I shouldn't have picked that color shirt, or why did I do that tie? Or maybe I should have stood over here. And it takes me a little time, even when I watch these shows, to watch it again to fully appreciate it. I know you guys appreciate it right away. And I love that. You express it through your Instagram messages, tweets, private emails, Facebook messages. You pour your heart out, these gifts, these cards you send, cookies. I mean, it's unbelievable. But it takes me a little time. It takes me maybe a second airing or showing of something for me to then come back from the emotion and the emotional investment of it to then say, you know what? I understand what they were saying, what that producer was saying. Oh, wow, that really was a funny line I came up with in a split second. That was weird. I will get what everybody else has been saying, and I hear it when they say it. It just takes me time to really absorb it. And I think that's a good thing that keeps your ego in check because I'm looking at it from a creative standpoint first, and then I'll start to appreciate it. And I'll look back at tapes when I first started on television in New York on Long Island, and I'll say, I didn't like it then, but now I'll pull those tapes out and I'll say, you know what, under those conditions, with that level of experience, being live and all that chaos going on in the studio, that was actually not bad. Just takes a little time for me to let it sink in. Thank you, Jim, for another wonderful conversation. I agree with Maureen. Wow. And Maureen says, this has been, wow, what a fantastic conversation, Jim. Thank you for bringing Stefan into our lives. My pleasure. And he will be back, definitely. So go out and get that book, gang. We love you all. We mentioned all the guests. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Share the channel with everybody you know. I really, really appreciate that. Also, give this episode a thumbs up because when you do that, YouTube sees it and they blast it out to millions more people. And also leave a comment for us on the YouTube. You guys have been chatting live throughout, and I love you guys for doing that, as you always do. But leave a comment on our channel too if you can. And when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way there you're alerted on all these great episodes. One more coming in, Christine Clifton in North Carolina. I feel the past few nights of shows and episodes are connected with many of the same messages. Yes, all the together, all have been beautiful, inspirational, incredible shows. Thanks, Jim. Lots of levity. Perfect. Perfect. That's what we aim for. There's no scripts. I've done a lot of work with scripts, questions, and teleprompters. No pre-questions. Stefan didn't have any questions. He had no idea what I was going to ask. And it could have gone in any direction, but it's free-flowing, conversational, warm and easy. And that's what we do here. See everyone tomorrow night. Have a great Thursday. Good night and hugs to you as well. And Maureen agrees with Christine's comment. You guys are the best. All right. For all of us here, the Jim Masters Show Live, Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. Again, we always send you some levity. And you know how we wrap up our show, right? We say, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to share the levity. That's really, really important. Find your Zen place. Mine is with loving family and friends. I am also a cyclist. I like baseball. I like tennis, music, writing, cooking, gardening. I mean, I like it all. But loving family and friends, time with them is always paramount. And of course, my years on television, radio, stage, and film, that's also a Zen place for me as well. And sharing that, as you guys know, with the world is very important to me as well. And the ocean is, as Stefan said, he loves the coast and he loves the Northeast, the change of the seasons. I do as well. And I got to be near an ocean. We are here. We're just a couple blocks here. As we say, the show originates from the greater New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area here in the United States along the southern New England coast between New York and Boston. This photo happens to be back home on Long Island. This is the South Shore of Long Island. This is the Atlantic Ocean. This is Robert Moses State Park and Beach. And you just put me near the ocean. I'm swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing it, floating in it, walking it. That's a Zen place for me. So find your Zen place, gang, and share it with the world. You're watching the Jim Masters Show live on Jim Masters TV, a channel dedicated to entertaining, informing, educating, and inspiring. And we love having you guys here all night. A couple more comments from the Lovities. You're nice and relaxed. Perfect. I love that. That is so perfect. Allison, you have a good night as well. And everybody, thanks for the comments. Thanks for the levity. And again, we thank our very special guest tonight, Stefan Ryback, best-selling author, broadcaster extraordinaire. Go check out his new book on Amazon and everywhere else. For all of us here, I'm your friend and your host, Jim Masters. Thanking you for your time this time. Till next time. See you tomorrow night, right here, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, on the Jim Masters Show Live. Whatever time you're watching this, morning, noon, or night, we thank you very much for being with us, and we wish you well. Take care, be well, and cheers.